Karate Kid. Legends is a bad movie, and no amount of forced key-jangling nostalgia can save this one. There's very little here that's actually redeemable, with a formulaic and unimaginative story, atrocious editing, and a rushed pacing that makes this feel more like an obligatory series of checkboxes to tick off than a genuine love letter to the franchise. Coming off the high of Cobra Kai, Karate Kid, Legends could have been a good way of revitalizing the series. You can definitely see the intention here, with the movie attempting to bridge the gap between the end of Cobra Kai and tying it into the separate reboot in 2010, but it's wedged together with about as much finesse as a drunk guy attempting to ballet. With a tighter script and a bit more time to flesh out the characters, it could have worked, but what's here is sloppy and poorly executed all round. The movie centers on a kid called Li Fong, a kung fu prodigy who leaves the dojo, much to Mr. Han's disappointment, to move over to New York City with his mum. It's your typical fish-out-of-water story, complete with some childhood trauma, a death in the family, and an estranged relationship with Li Fong's mum. It's your textbook hero origin story and Karate Kid. Legends unashamedly leans into all the tired cliches that come with this. It doesn't take long for Li Fong to get bullied at school by the local asshole Connor, either because, of course, we have to include the bullying angle too. Now, Connor is karate whiz and been trained to fight ferociously, something that's at odds with Li Fong's philosophy, where he's not fighting anymore due to that aforementioned tragedy in his past. Don't expect much more with Connor, though, as he has about as much depth as a shopkeeper NPC in an RPG. The only half-interesting part of his character stems from the fact that he's the ex-boyfriend of Li Fong's current flame, Mia. Mia happens to be the daughter of Victor, an ex-boxer who owes money to loan sharks and through Li Fong, learns to fight again. It's a bit of a switch and bait because you kinda expect Victor to be the one training Li Fong, but given he's already amazing, but not quite as amazing as Connor, there's not much karate training until near the end of the movie. In fact, amusingly, the film includes more boxing training than anything else. With a runtime of under 90 minutes, the film absolutely steamrolls through its plot, leaving little room for anything to grow or evolve. There's a random, nerdy, comedic friend that's thrown in, presumably for the comedy angle, but the film is so unoriginal in its execution that the only time you'll be laughing at is the editing. Editors Dana Glauberman and Colby Parker Jr. aren't newcomers to the field, with some pretty commendable shows to their name, so the fact that their editing is so bad is a bit of a mystery. The only thing I can think of is that they wound up in the editing booth high on psychedelics and a copy of Microsoft PowerPoint. We get all the bangers here, including swipes to the left, swipes to the right, zoom cuts, freeze frames, and box turns. Scenes are cut fast. There's some mashed up animations too, because why not, I guess, and the flashbacks are more distracting than genuinely engaging. I've seen B-movies made on a shoestring budget with tighter editing, and words cannot do justice to what an embarrassment this is. Unfortunately, this lack of engagement spills over to the entire movie. Everything is well orchestrated with absolutely no surprises whatsoever. There's nothing left to the imagination, and those looking for ties to Cobra Kai and a returning Daniel LaRusso, who's heavily featured in the trailer, will have to wait for at least an hour before he makes an appearance. Ralph Macchio feels like he's been added in as an afterthought, with very little to do here other than being a bit of key-jangling nostalgia to remind you of the franchise. The same can be said for Johnny Lawrence too, who does show up, but only after the credits in a scene that's actually one of the best in the whole film. The acting is a bit of a mixed bag too. While Ben Wang is great in his role as Li Fong, the rest of the cast range from okay to outright bad. Ming-Na Wen is not good as Li Fong's mother, and is arguably the worst out of the entire cast. To be fair, it's not really the cast's fault entirely, because the script gives them absolutely nothing to work with and they're constantly wrestling with the editing. This very much feels like a first draft effort thrown on Sony's desk, rather than a polished effort worthy of elevating the Karate Kid name. Ultimately, Karate Kid. Legends is just not a good movie. It's a poor, phoned-in, unimaginative, and lazy title that doesn't have the foresight or the creativity to reignite this franchise. Instead, what we get is one of the worst movies of 2025, and in a year where we also got the Minecraft movie, that's quite a feat.